Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dude, Where's My Startup? I am here with Brantly Millegan, the creator of Ethereum Follow Protocol, Ethereum Identity Kit, signing in with Ethereum, and long-time contributor to Ethereum Name Service, ENS.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about juggling founder time with 8 children, his crazy journey building Ethereum's leading domain name service, and the #1 rule for marketing yourself.
Very good. Glad to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit about the traction that ENS has achieved to date, and of course EFP as well on top of that, given their complementary I suppose integration?
Yeah, so ENS is the only blockchain-based naming protocol attempt that has gotten significant traction. And that's really special because, and a lot of people don't know this, if you haven't been to DC, I've been deep into it, so I've seen more of the details, but there have been many other attempts over the years. ENS was not the first attempt. In fact, the idea of using blockchain technology for a naming system goes back to the Satoshi era. So you had Bitcoin, and early on, people were like, we could use this technology for things other than money. And the first real attempt at like an altcoin, like other alternative blockchain, that wasn't just a Bitcoin copy that had another use case, was Namecoin. Now, if you are new to the space the last couple of years, you might not have even heard that, but Namecoin, because it still exists, but it's basically a failed project. But it used to be like a top 10 coin years ago, and it had the approval of Satoshi himself. So by the way, anyone who's a Bitcoin maxi, you'd be maxing out Satoshi from your community, because Satoshi was not a Bitcoin maxi. He supported other blockchains like Namecoin. And so that was an early attempt at using blockchain technology for naming. And it kind of had some interest early on, but it's kind of went away. And there have been many other attempts, and they've all failed except one. ENS has gotten some traction. And let me say, I can say from being on the inside of that transition, from being an early project to getting some traction, really, really hard. Some really good devs, some luck, some smart negotiating, some smart marketing, many things had to come together. And ENS is in hundreds, maybe thousands of apps now throughout the ecosystem. All the top wallets. It's in Uniswap. It's in so many things. It's in Etherscan. Like all the top apps. That's been a really hard thing to do. Of course, it needs a lot more. So ENS has gotten pretty good traction. EFP. Okay, so EFP we launched about 6 months ago, and it's just meant to complement ENS. And like ENS, while there is a manager app, so like there's an ENS manager app at app.ens subdomains, EFP has a manager app at efp.app. It's meant to be used mostly outside of the manager app. Maybe you set things up on the manager app, but then you go use it in all other apps. EFP, so integrations is extremely important to the success of EFP, just like ENS. And we're at 45 integrations right now, which I think is actually pretty good, seeing as we just launched 6 months ago. But we need to be in every app. We need hundreds of apps, thousands. We need to get that same level as ENS. So we're working very hard on that. But we're in some significant ones. We're in Superfluid, we're in Tally, we're in Agora, we're in the Poe app, mobile app, we're in Snapshots. We're in Rocky, we're in some significant apps. So we're proud of it, but we need to be in a lot more.
That is awesome. Yeah, I saw the Tally launch recently as well. That's brilliant in 6 months for EFP. Going back to like ENS, how much has the idea actually changed from the get-go? It almost feels like it hasn't changed externally too much, but like, has much change? Or did any of the major assumptions at the very beginning end up just being completely wrong, and they had to do a lot of changing in between? Like, it's been quite a long journey.
Yeah, in some ways, know that ENS at its bare bones level is you have names and you have data attached to the names. And there's different ways you can conceive of what that means. Like I said, the original vision was like you have decentralized websites, or it helps you with payments. And it still is those things, by the way. It's not that those things have gone away. It's that there's what I would say there's a broader vision. It's your username and profile. So there's a wider range of data that you can attach to it and take around Web3 with you. Your avatar, your header, your bio, your socials, your links to your social, all these things, in addition to your decentralized website, your payment addresses, and not just ETH, by the way, but you can put a Bitcoin address, a Solana address, any crypto address that you want. Actually, it supports payments for all those. So it's kind of this broader vision. I found that when you build something, building can often be, and it's not just an act of creation, it's an act of discovery. So that you go down a path and you think you're going towards a certain goal, you think you're building a certain type of thing. And then after you've gone down the path, you realize, actually, I built something else, or like what I'm really building is this other thing. So it can kind of be an act of discovery. On a technical level, yes, I mean, ENS has had various upgrades and changes and things like this. But it's very, very basic concept has not changed. I would just say the way we think about it has evolved over time.
If a younger version of you walked into the room today, what's the first thing you would have warned them about before going into ENS, before building Ethereum Follow Protocol? What piece of advice would you give yourself?
Oh man, that's a good question. So with blockchain technology, people often talk about trustlessness, right? And the technology itself, works. Like the math checks out, cryptography works, blockchains work. But there's the social layer, and you need to not just trust the technology. If you're working with other people, you need to trust those people. And that's something just I think in life you need to be careful about, of like, who are you connecting yourself with, and when push comes to shove, are they going to have your back or not? And to don't just assume that everybody will, and you need to pick your coworkers carefully, and you need to set legal structures up and things like this, that even if the technology you can trust, because and that works, the whole world is not just the blockchain, right? It's there's the rest, your company and your friends and your coworker, all these things too. So I say I think I'm wiser about that now, and I wish I had been wiser about that in the past. But that's good advice for anybody. It's like, especially let's say this is what dude, what's my startup, or something is the name of this, right? Like if you're doing a startup, like your founders and early employees, like you have a small team, you got to pick those people very carefully. Yes, they need to be highly skilled, they need to get the vision, they need to be hard workers. They also need to be people you trust, that you can be in the trenches with, because things will come up where it's like, all right, are we in this together or not?
Yeah, I mean, I've known Callum for over 10 years of my life now, since university. So you already knew with a gut instinct some people that you think you can and cannot work with. Unfortunately,
You already know the skeletons.
You already knew. But when you walk in brand new into Web3 and crypto, I spoke to the co-founder of Rhinestone, they're building the UX layer for Web3, and Kurt was like, there's a major frenemy culture in Web3. People who you think are your friends are often also just your enemies when it comes to business, customers, partnerships, co-workers, all of it. So that is definitely a running theme that exists in the industry. And I would even warn myself about it, but coming into the industry from the very beginning. But you learn so much on the way. What's one thing that you used to overthink, but now feels completely just clear and simple to you?
One thing that comes to my mind is early on when I was in the crypto industry, I think I overthought, you know, or didn't fully appreciate the importance of, and overthought both at the same time, like communication in the community. Okay. And I think a lot of people actually make this mistake of like, you can build great technology, but if nobody knows about it, it doesn't matter. So you need to, and blockchains, right? There's social coordination mechanisms, which means if you don't have a community, right? The community is like a term we hear a lot in crypto because you don't just have customers, you have a community. That is like the magic of crypto is it can bring people around the world to coordinate together in positive ways. But to have a community, you need to like go out and evangelize. You have to like get converts into your community. And that's like extremely important. And I think a lot of people who are not out there in the game, like let's say right now Twitter's the place, right? The Twitter game can be really careful about their communications and things like this, and not do enough. And there was like a turning point in 2021 when I kind of flipped a switch here of like, no, like you just need to be active on Twitter. Just go out there and communicate with people and tweet a lot. And kind of like lower the stakes of each individual like tweet or communication, because you can feel like, oh, I put out a tweet and like nobody responded or something, like, you know, like you're overthinking it. Forget it. Like just get out there and be engaged so people like know who you are. You're engaged in the conversation. Don't overthink it. Just go out there because people need to know who you are. You need to spread your ideas. You need to learn. Engaging in the conversation also helps you learn. Because a lot of people, I've seen this in my own life and I've seen this in other people, you can kind of build a cathedral of an idea in your mind, but if it hasn't been tested, it might not be as good as it actually seems. Like you need to put it out there and let other people argue with it, and you will refine it a lot. So I guess what I would say is don't overthink communication, just go out there, you just need to do it.
I think that's a really good one. I think everyone in Web3 thinks they can do so much better on Twitter. It's like the only place where you should be getting your voice out there because the whole community hangs out there. And yet taking advantage of being able to be a part of discussions. Yeah, everyone's in discussions at the same time, just doing soft marketing, like, but it's all authentic. That's the best way of doing it, not hard selling and pushing, but people learn to know what you do and who you are based on how you communicate with others. I think that's quite a powerful thing. What's the key principle that you've abided by for building a really strong following on Twitter and communicating and marketing yourself and your product?
And a key principle on this too is that when you, let's say you're building your own product or protocol or whatever it is, okay, you're thinking about it all the time, you understand it, and then like you put out some communications about what it is, like a tweets or blog posts or whatever. Okay. Most people dramatically underestimate how often another person needs to hear an idea before it matters to them. So you understand your ideas and you put it out and be like, oh, I've said it. First of all, most people probably didn't see it. And if they did, like, remember, they don't care about your thing the way you care about it. So they probably didn't understand it, probably didn't see it. And it probably went in one ear and went out the other. Like, you need to like keep repeating the same thing. Like to you, it'll feel like I am repeating this 1,000 times. My death is like going to come from me repeating the same thing. But you need to repeat something 1,000 times so that someone else hears it 20 times. And maybe by the 20th time, it like clicks in their brain or something like this.
Now, you have an incredible family, Brantly. You have
Thank you.
A wife and 8 kids. Did I count that correctly?
We have 8 children. Yes, we're very blessed.
That is incredible. How on earth do you manage to balance being a great dad while building so much stuff in Web3?
Well, I have a great wife. That's the key thing. If you want a good family, men, make sure you get a good wife. That's step one. It's nice that I work from home. You know, I'm kind of around. That's nice. That's convenient. And yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's just, you know, you set your priorities right. Make sure you do what you need to do. But yeah, I'm very blessed.
And you know, a lot of people were around this age, around the 30s mark in crypto. They'll be thinking about kids. How have kids actually changed your whole outlook on life?
Yeah, so my wife and I, we got married when we were fairly young. We got married when we were in college. So I was 21 and she had just turned 22. We were in the same year in school. And we were open to children from the get-go. So 10 months later, we had our first kid. My oldest is nearly 15. In fact, he's sitting right here in the room with me right now. He's working on his computer. And so he's in high school. And then we have 8 kids going every 2.5 years or so, all the way down to a 6-month-old we just had last fall. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm very, what do I believe in? I believe in marriage. I believe in a family. I think it's a good thing for everybody. I think it matures you. It gives you a good perspective about the future and building a good world. I think it grounds you. A great thing about children is they ground you. So, when you have a 2-year-old, you're playing with your 2-year-old. I mean, they are not thinking about crypto or the markets or politics or war and peace or whatever. They're just playing right. And those things are all important. Those are adult concerns. You should be, but kids are also, they're just very in the moment, just want to play. And it's a great balance to your life. I highly recommend it. Many people, they're nervous or, they want to get everything perfect to get married and have kids. And I get it. I mean, you shouldn't be reckless, but I think too many people err on the side of being too careful. And I think, look, people have been having families and kids for obviously thousands, millions of years, however you want to think about it. Okay. You can have that under all sorts of circumstances. Modern circumstances are the best they've ever been. If you found the right person, I would say, look, just get married, just have kids. You'll figure it out as you go along and you won't regret it. Many people regret waiting. Whereas I've never heard anyone be like, oh, I regret that I had kids early and had tons of kids. No, they're like, oh, it's great. I can't imagine any other life. So I recommend people err that direction.
I completely agree with that. My dad was 45 years old when I've got 2 older brothers, but he's regretted that he waited a few too many years to have kids. So I definitely know some parents that are that way inclined.
Yeah, in people's life paths take different paths. That's fine. I'm not saying everybody's life has to be exactly the same or just exactly like mine or anything, but I would say I think people should err a certain direction. And I will say it, I got married when I was 21. We had kids right away, and most people were telling me, Brantly, it's going to be way too hard. You're going to be poor. It's going to ruin your life, blah, blah, blah. Bullshit. Completely wrong. None of that came to pass. Our life has been great with great joys. And we're so glad that we had kids when we did. And I feel like other people, they sigh off themselves into missing out. And it's you need to have some faith. I mean, I'll mention that too. I mean, I'm very public about I'm a Catholic Christian. I believe that. I think, and you should be too. Everyone should be. And, look, I think religion, that's also very grounding for people. I think a lot of people, it's my opinion. Again, I think they kind of think they're too sophisticated for it. But then, well, then what do you have? And you know what? We go to church every Sunday and you have this grounding and it does kind of keep you on a path. And I think we have benefited greatly from it.
Whether someone's religious or not, having daily or weekly rituals that ground you on things, whether it's meditating, whether it's being part of the church or anything, these rituals are 100% things that keep you grounded.
I say you need something.
Yeah.
So definitely. I think, again, you asked my opinion. There's a lot of people in crypto, a lot of young men, who I'd say are unmarried, have no family, and they aren't religious. Okay. And I think a problem is that it's well, then what do you have?
And there's a lot of loneliness.
Yes, exactly. It's sort of what do you have? Meaning, loneliness, all these things. And, I would say, again, a recommendation is like, if you can get married, have kids, and take them to church, that's not going to fix every problem in your life, but that's a pretty good start. Like, that's a pretty good life.
What's the best advice that you've been given by an advisor, a friend, could even be a family member?
Best advice? It's like in life, like life advice.
Yeah. Do you have a mentor? Do you have anyone that has stuck with you and influenced you a lot in life?
Well, I mean, I mentioned my Catholic faith. I mean, I'd say that's the biggest thing in my life that's been extremely guiding for my life. You know, if we were going to talk about like the startup world, I'd say the biggest thing, advice for startups, I would say is, you know, startups are really hard, and I think a lot of people give up too easily on things. You know, there's you have to know when you go into it that there's going to be hardship. You're gonna have to go through a lot, and if you really have conviction on something, you're gonna have to probably go through some hard times. You know, but if it's a good idea, you should stick with it.
Yeah, it's 90% of the time it is free falling and failing, and then if you manage to reach just not die, basically that's it, just default not dead, you will work it out. It's very, very difficult going through that long journey, but
yes, like the 0 to 1 is really, really hard. Something I say to people is, you know, if somebody has done a startup and gotten some traction, congratulations, because that is really, really, really hard. And I have a lot of respect for people who have done that, because you know, I'd say, let's say on like my ENS work, you know, I saw ENS go from very small and not doing very well to being, you know, a moderately, you know, successful app, and I saw how hard that was. And there's hard work. You have to be smart. There's also luck involved. I mean, there's all these things. If you've made it through that for anything, that's very impressive.
I've got a few fun quickfire ones, which they don't have to be immediate. You can have a little think about it, but just 5 questions to finish it off.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's have some fun.
You ready? What do you believe about crypto that most others do not?
A contrarian view, you know, by most others, you know, I'd say I can think of some things that'd be contrarian depending on how you define the most others. You know, is that people in the crypto industry broadly, is the Ethereum community, and, you know, in the world in general? I mean, I think blockchain technology is a fundamental breakthrough in computer science that is going to radically transform every aspect of our world, not just the financial sector, which is already enormous, but also the non-financial sector. And that's where I've spent my career, as in non-financial use cases. That's something that even in the Ethereum community, a lot of people miss the non-financial use cases. I think they're enormous. And I mean, in the crypto space, I mean, I guess it's a contrarian view now. I mean, look, I'm all in on Ethereum. That's it, man. I'm a true believer all the way. And whatever the ETH BTC, you know, chart is saying, you know, I've been through a lot of ups and downs. I'm with it, hell or high water. I mean, that's it. So maybe that's the most contrarian view I have right now. And I mean, what have I worked on in my crypto career? I've worked on Ethereum name service, sign in with Ethereum. I led the creation of that. Ethereum follow protocol, Ethereum identity kits. I mean, like, right? I mean, right there in the names. I am all in on Ethereum.
What's the bearing in mind we know that going in on Ethereum was your best piece of advice that you've been given. What's the worst piece of crypto advice that you've ever been given?
Advice.
Have you ever gone, apart from Ethereum, have you taken any crypto advice that ended up not going so well? Can be investments. Could we just be backing something?
You know, I think a lot of people get, you know, they get hurt by crazy trading things. Obviously, I mean, we all know this. The way I think about it is, you know, you if you're looking at the charts every day, right? Everyone's looking at the charts, and it can be very intoxicating when you see weight. if only I had done this trade from this, one day I could have made all this money, done all this, and everyone wants to get rich quick. And you think, if only I had just done these simple moves, I'd already be there. And that's very intoxicating, and it can draw people into trying to, do more day trading and things like this, or using leverage. I'll say very early on in my crypto experience, I did experiment with some of these things, made dumb mistakes and blah, blah, blah. That I wish I had. I would warn people, anything that seems too good to be true is, the whole get rich quick with meme coins or leverage or following this crazy thing. It's generally speaking, that's not going to work. And even if your goal is to get rich, look, the richest people in the world, and frankly, the richest people in crypto, are people who they've built useful things and they captured some of that value. And that is harder to do. But, frankly, I think it has more meaning to it too.
Definitely. Yeah. If you're able to genuinely drive utility over just the hype, which seems to get out of hand, especially when things are up, then you're winning. And I would say only a handful of platforms or projects have actually managed to achieve that. Yeah, I'd actually say ENS is one of them, of course. Lastly, a Web2 company that you would love to see on chain.
All of them. I mean, at some point, I think it's within the realm of possibility that we see major Web2 companies adding more and more crypto features into their thing. I'd love to see adoption of the sign with Ethereum authentication standard, outside of crypto. I'd love to see that. And I think just integrating the on-chain, off-chain worlds together, I think we may see some experimentation with that. I don't see why we wouldn't, because the on-chain world, it's open source, it's public domain. The data is right there. If you want to know something about your users, let them, authenticate an Ethereum address into your Web2 world, and then you get all of this on-chain information about them as well. It seems like just like a free thing to do. I'm surprised we haven't had it as more of that, but I think maybe we will.
Brantly, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. It's been great talking with you, and can't wait to see where ENS and EFP continues to go. We'll be following you very, very closely.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Great chatting.